We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Welcome back to 755 Forever. What's up? I'm David O'Brien, Braves writer at The Athletic. I'm with my co-host, Eric O'Flaherty, former Braves reliever. What's going on, Eric?
Trying to transition from coaching T-ball to podcasting. Not an easy one.
Hey, how about I think my MVP calls were looking pretty good. Well, they were. Mookie kind of cooled off. But remember I had Mookie and Julio.
I almost said Soto because I feel like certain guys put on those pinstripes and turn into Superman, so we'll see how that plays out. But I think he's a good.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I know he's gotten off to a hell of a start. Speaking of MVPs, I think it's kind of astonishing that the Braves are doing what they're doing offensively with Ronald Acuña not doing much of anything yet, because you know he's going to get going. But man, we were talking about this today. I was talking to Justin Toscano, and we were like, it's just different when he gets on his usual role than it is right now, because usually when you hear that music at home when he comes to bat, you're like, okay, here we go. Yep. And right now you just don't have that feel. He does not have that feel in the box right now.
Yeah, he'll get going. I mean,
yeah, we know he will. Him and Freed, we know both of them will, but especially Acuña. Consider the Braves are leading the majors in average at 303, OBP 364, slugging 500. Remember last year they were first team ever to slug 500 for a full season. They're basically doing the same things again this year, just not hitting as many home runs yet. And OPS at 864. They're leading the majors in everything. And that's with Acuña is basically last. He's last among the regulars.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe. He's all the other regulars are OPS and well over 800, except for the catchers. And Acuña is OPSing, 622, I think it was. I looked.
632.
632. And look at your boy Kelenic up there, man, what he's doing. He's killing it. Kelenic is killing it.
Yeah,
Not a bunch of extra base hits yet, but doubles and singles. Few extra base hits, doubles. But, I mean, he looks great up there.
He looks good. That's what, I mean, I would almost throw the numbers out. If you're just watching his swings, his timing's good. He's got a compact swing. They're easy swings. He's on a lot of pitches. He's had a couple tough at bats in some situations, but otherwise he looks promising to me.
Very. That platoon of him and Duvall is working to perfection so far. And Kelenic has made some great plays in the outfield too. He made another nice catch today.
And throws. He's got a great arm.
Meanwhile, Ozuna, I wrote about him this week. He has just continued what he did for the last 4 months of last season. It's amazing. The last 5 months really took off in May. And I didn't realize it. I did. I looked it up on Fangraphs. The only man in the majors with more homers and RBIs either than Ozuna since May 1st, Matt Olson. They are 1-2 in the majors in homers and RBIs since May 1st till now.
Yeah, that's just what's insane about this lineup, too, is you bring up two guys that are doing that, and you're not even talking about Albies, Riley, Harris. I mean, when you talk about Acuña's not doing anything yet, what feels so great about this lineup as a whole is you can have arguably the best player in the game, doing almost nothing and still have the best offense in baseball. And you could have 2 more guys slump, and it's still a scary lineup. No matter who's hot or cold in this lineup, every day is tough to get through.
Yeah, you got 3 guys with 10 or more RBIs in 11 games, including Ozzie Albies, who's got 12. It's great to see him getting off to a strong start like he is. He's hitting 319, OPS in 900, 905. Austin Riley's picked it up. He's hitting 277, OPS in 822. He's got 6 extra base hits, 10 ribbies. Anyway, the lineup is, they've done everything they're supposed to do, even without Acuña doing anything yet. The bullpen looked great until this Mets series, and I really think they showed fatigue because we were talking about how they were handling a huge load in that Arizona series. They pitched 14 1/3 scoreless innings, and we all wrote about them because it was phenomenal. What happens? They come out and shit the bed in these Mets games, but I think they're just showing some fatigue from all these early exits by starters, injuries, getting knocked around starters, and just having to pitch so much. Even when you got an 8-deep bullpen, when you got to throw 14 1/3 innings in a 3-game series against Arizona, that's a heavy workload.
Yeah, I mean, you get your back-to-backs and stuff in spring training, but you definitely don't practice the dry humps. You don't practice getting up, sitting down, getting back up. I never really remember getting tired in April, even, and we threw a lot, but there's so many off days too.
Yeah.
And there's also, normally you get mainly good starts from your starters. They had a couple rough ones where they had to cover quite a bit of innings, but I don't know. I mean, it's hard to read into any trend this early in the season because it's so young. When guys struggle or get off to a really hot start, you can't read too much into it. And I always say, if this stuff happens in July, there's plenty of other stuff going on. You don't even notice it. But to start the season.
Yeah, you alluded to the off days. I think they've had such a choppy start because of the 2 rainouts, opening day being postponed today. Well, that didn't hurt them because then they played in a row. But they've had 2 rainouts already. They've played the fewest games, or second fewest now, in the majors. And I don't think they've really gotten into a rhythm yet. And they've played in cold and rain. Like half the games have been in the rain and or the cold. Yeah. So I think this series, or this trip coming up, gives them a really good chance to get going. Starting is perfect because you got Max Fried starting tomorrow night at Miami in the series opener. You got 6 games in 6 days in dome stadiums, or if they're only going to be open if it's great weather. So you're going to have great weather for 6 games, no rain, and it's going to be a real chance for some guys to get going, I think, and kind of find their groove and not be playing. Because I know some of these guys don't even like playing in the cold. You couldn't tell the way they're raking, but it's hard to get going when you've been down in Florida playing in 85 degrees, like it was for the last month down there, and you come up here and they've been playing in 45 degrees, or rain, or both.
Personally, I struggled going from coast to coast. Like if I was playing in Atlanta and we go out to that West Coast trip, I never felt good. 70 felt not cold, but I couldn't sweat. I couldn't get going. And vice versa, when you're coming from the West Coast to the East Coast in the summer, you got that dry air, it's 75, 80, and you go to play in New York or Florida, you feel like you're just playing underwater. So, I mean, going from spring training where it's humid to really cold weather in Chicago, that's tough.
Yeah, so today was the first really lopsided kind of just a blowout against the Braves today. And it was one of those games that you had Allan Winans going in the first spot start in place of Spencer Strider, because so far you'd had all 5 starters make 2 starts apiece. So you hadn't had to have a spot start. And somebody said on Twitter today, when he was getting, knocked around in the first couple of innings, he gave up 7 runs the first 3 innings. A few of those were an error and a ball that Harris normally catches in center. But he didn't pitch well. I mean, he's Allan Winans. He's not a great pitcher, but he's okay. But he gave up 7 runs early, and somebody's like, I don't want to hear about the depth if this is the best guy we've got in AAA to come up. It's like, no, that's not the best guy they got in AAA. People need to understand you don't just pick the best guy you have down there. He's got to be in turn to start that day. So if Smith Shawver or Bryce Elder pitched the day before he was going to be needed, they brought this guy up on the day when Strider went on the IL because they needed a long guy. Didn't end up using him, but he was there to pitch long. Then they didn't want to spend an option on him when he was already up. They could have sent him down and brought somebody else up, but they went ahead and gave him a start. But when we named those 10 guys, I think we named 10 guys that are rotation, how deep they are. Winans wasn't one of the 10. You know, the 5 below the major league level I had were Bryce Elder, Smith Shawver, Waldrop, who's at AA right now, but he'll be up before too long, Vines, and Huascar Noah. That's 5 guys that I have before Winans. So, you know, and then you're going to have Ian Anderson at midseason. The point being, nobody should read into that like this is the 6th guy. This is now the 5th starter. No, Winans is I was thinking about this today. Winans is still a rookie, but he's both a rookie and a journeyman. He's 28 years old. I think he's both a rookie and a journeyman.
Yeah. Not the spot you want to find yourself in.
Which is hard to do, yeah.
It's not a big deal. They have a lot of options, and one of the guys is going to come up. And look, if he dealt today, went 6 scoreless, you're making the next start. But that's the position that you find yourself in, and it's never fun. I mean, we saw guys for years when the Braves were trying to figure out their rotation, go through that up, come up, have a bad start, get sent down. I don't ever expect guys to perform great in this situation. But it's the hand you're dealt, and you have to. And somebody will. Somebody won't feel that pressure. They'll have a good start, and then you'll have your guy.
And that's what Snit said after the game. You know, it's not easy. I mean, these guys have all responded great to it. But you're asking them, you're throwing them out of their routine. They're getting extra rest. They're not pitching for a long time when they come up, and you're using them in the long roll if needed. And they end up not pitching. Then he makes a start, so he's had like double rest, basically. He's not in the rhythm at all, and he's facing big league hitters all of a sudden. And so it's a tough ask. Now they've optioned him after the game, and they'll probably do the same thing with another guy. Bring him up for long tomorrow and keep him. And if he is not used, he'll make that next start. So we'll see how they do it. But they've also got that thing now where they can use their own roster guys because they're past that point, the option. Yeah. That when you option guys at the end of camp, they have to have a certain number of days. So now you can use everybody. So we'll see. But they got blown out today. What did it end up being? 16-4. It didn't matter if it was 6-4 or 16-4 after a certain point. There were certain guys Snit was not using in the bullpen. He used a couple of guys, and then which I hate. I hate using position guys, but he brought Guillorme in because he's not going to use these certain guys. They got 6 games in 6 days coming up for the first time where they're going to be playing every day. Brought Guillorme in against his old team, and okay, that's cute and all that. What does he do? He gives up a grand slam. A pinch hit grand slam, by the way. Pinch hitting against Guillorme Taylor. But all I ever think when they bring a guy in like that is how Bobby Cox never would do it. He hated it.
I don't love it either, honestly. I mean, I hate watching it. I don't mind it when it gets to the point where today's game got whatever. But I've seen teams do it down by 4 runs.
Right. And now there's a new rule. Yeah. You have to be down a certain amount or up a certain amount. You have to be down 8 or up 10, I think it is.
I would have loved it as a reliever on those days where I had to be the guy. Yeah. You know, and I might pitch tomorrow too. The absolute worst game you can pitch in as a reliever is a blowout game.
Yeah.
These guys just come up, they get out of their approach, they're swinging for the fences. You're a dick if you come in spinning breaking balls in 2-0 counts and stuff like that. You know, there's kind of these rules about that. You feel like you're kind of being a chump too, you know, like, all right, it's a blowout. Let me just throw my fastballs. And then you give up a 4 spot and your ERA triples. So as a reliever, an active reliever, I would have loved it. Like, you know, throw anybody else out there and let them, whatever happens. The game's out of hand, but it's tough to watch. You know, I don't love it as a fan now.
And problem is those runs also go on the bullpen ERA.
Exactly.
You know, they're tacked on the bullpen ERA. Now they got to whittle that down. And that's not indicative of anything. It's not representative. It's not a fair representation of, but, you know, a lot of teams do it. Most teams do it. And it became in vogue, so nobody feels bad about doing it. It used to be kind of like, do I want to do this? Now it's just like, okay, just send them in there. I just hate it. I think of those fans how about the fan that only comes to 2 games a year? One, you got screwed because, I mean, nothing against Winans, but you came to see, you know, one of the studs pitch. Yeah. Winans is pitching, right? And then they give up 7 runs in the first. They're down 7-0. But you're going to stick it out because you're only coming to a couple games a year. You're going to stay till the end. And you're there till the end. In the 9th inning, they got a utility infielder giving them a grand slam. And it's like you leave going, how'd the Braves do? When you get home with your wife, oh, they got to be 16-4. Oh, that was great.
Yeah, exactly.
But Snit made it clear. I know people would say, that was still a winnable game and blah, blah, blah. It wasn't at that point. But Snit, for those who wonder, made it pretty clear today. He didn't mind saying it. He's looking at the big picture always. He's always looking. They're going to rest guys. They're going to give them extra rest. They could have skipped Winans after yesterday's game got rained out, and the other starters would have still been on extra rest. But they gave him another day. They're looking at the big picture the whole time, and they're not going to say they're sacrificing a game, but you really are when you're giving yourself a lot better chance, So he's always looking at the big picture because they've seen it bite him so many times where they've limped into the postseason,
Yeah.
And they just want to avoid that, especially now with where the starting rotation is. You already lost Strider. You can't really afford to lose another one of your studs.
The thing is, with this offense, you could expect to win today.
Yeah. Even down 7 runs.
Out of anybody you call up, you get a decent start out of. You might win 9-7.
And even down 7 runs, you would have had a chance if you were just going against a Midland pitcher today. But Jose Quintana was not a Midland pitcher today. That dude looks like old Jose Quintana.
Yeah, he's a stud.
He looked good. He's looked good so far this year. Somebody asked me on Twitter, they said, we're getting smoked by a minor league left-hander. I'm like,
a minor league left-hander?
What? But it's Twitter.
Philip has just lost the respect of the youth league football team he coaches. He was asked what New England should do in the draft, and his answer was objectively terrible. The Athletic just wrote a great article about this, but Philip doesn't have the Athletic or the respect of a boisterous group of 11-year-olds who once looked up to him. Learn from Philip's error, get the Athletic, and get the info you need to speak draft fluently.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Hey everyone, Tim Shovers, producer of the podcast here. Just want to take a second to remind you, if you want to help out the podcast, go to 755forever.com. Click on store. We got plenty of merchandise options. It goes a long way to help out the podcast. So appreciate that in advance. And while I have you, quick minor league update. The Augusta Green Jackets, they're on the road right now. You could probably guess why they're not playing home games this week. They lost 4-1 at the Kannapolis Cannonballers. Now back to the show.
Rough week, began with the Strider news. Nothing's official yet on him, but, I'd be shocked if it's not season-ending surgery. I think it's only a matter of Tommy John, or is it the brace that Meister does sometimes on guys? And knowing Strider, I think the reason they haven't announced it yet, because he went there on Monday.
Yeah.
And so they already know, obviously. Meister has told him what it is. They're going to announce something this weekend. To me, all that is I know Strider. I bet Meister told him what I bet he said, what are my options? He told him the 2 options. And knowing Strider, because a lot of pitchers will go, which one should I do, Doc? Or what do you think? Strider took that information, doing a deep dive, doing exhaustive research. He's probably even asking some other experts what they think, knowing Strider. Because and good for him. He's looking at it, I'm out for the year. What's it, 4 days difference? I'm going to find out what's the best option and choose it. He's just taking control of it himself. I know that's what it is. Otherwise, there's no reason to wait practically a week. You don't put off good news, by the way.
No, you never wait 4 days to say everything's all right.
Right.
Meister
didn't find damage that we saw initially, and he'll be back by the break. Yeah, so it sucks, man. It sucks because I know for fans it sucks, but also for us because, man, I love writing about that guy. I love talking to him. Him and Charlie are so much fun to talk to. You learn so much. They're just refreshing guys, and Strider is just such a refreshing young guy on top of being just uber talented. But, we talked about this last week. Something's got to be done. I don't know what the answer is with all the bitching injuries, but, I'm interested to see what Strider's approach is when he comes back. And when he's coming, if he has 2 Tommy Johns, just come back and do the same thing because that's what makes him great. I don't know. I think he's got to make some adjustments. There's not a whole lot of guys that have come back from 2 Tommy Johns and pitched at a high level.
I don't know what adjustments you make when, it's not like a glaring flaw in his mechanics.
No.
And you don't throw 99 like that with shitty mechanics.
I've been impressed with what Ronaldo Lopez has done in going from a guy that threw 99 to 101 when the Braves faced him last year with the White Sox and Angels. I thought that's the most dominant reliever we've seen all year. He was unbelievable. He was blowing fastballs by Ozuna and Acuña.
Yep.
He's gone from that guy to a guy that looks like he's been a starter his whole career. He's thrown mid-90s now with more breaking balls. 2 breaking balls instead of 1. I give him all the credit in the world. It's like he knows what the hell he's doing and how to preserve himself and pace.
Yeah, and I wonder if Strider was a just straight reliever, if he wouldn't sit 101. That's my main point. And when I watch him is I don't see too much effort. It's clean. It's easy. I had a buddy tell me the other day he was watching this guy with a mustache pitch. And he's like, finally, and he didn't see the gun on the screen. He's like, finally, I get a guy like me. This guy's just throwing it in there. He's got clean mechanics and he's filling up the zone. And this is fun to watch. And he said, then he looked at the gun and he saw it was 99. Yeah. And it blew his mind because of the effort level he was seeing on TV. He's like a guy I played high school with that pitched in high school. He was like 89, 90. But he saw the mechanics and the effort level and thought, this guy's just dotting up.
It was Strider.
And then, it was Strider. So 10 pitches in, he looks up and he sees 99 on the gun and it blew his mind.
Yeah.
And that's what I see when I watch him. I don't see a guy, it doesn't even look like he's straining. It just looks like he throws 99. And maybe he could throw 95, 96 and do that. But is that even less stress on your arm?
But if you think about it, DeGrom looks effortless too. And he throws 99.
Yeah.
But DeGrom's a skinny guy, slender, and his body can't take it. It's breaking down. And Strider's not a big guy. He's little. And his body is obviously not able to handle it. So I don't know,
man. His quads aren't little.
No, his quads are not little at all. But his arm is still delivering a ball at 99, and he's 5'11". I don't know, man. I don't know. There's not any easy answers, obviously, or people be doing it. So I think the bullpen, I'm going to give him a pass on this Mets series because I haven't changed my thoughts on him. Matzik has all of a sudden was giving up some hits. I talked to Pierce the other day about this curveball. I said, because he's throwing it, almost all the time. I said, you feel like you can throw that curveball all the time? Basically, he said, yeah, absolutely. Because if I throw it the way I can throw it, I don't have to throw hardly anything else. He gave up a home run the other day when he hung. So, but they all. I don't think anything's changed as far as them. They just had they were asked to do a whole lot and then deal with some weather and all that shit. We'll see, but I think these next 2 series we're going to get a lot better idea of what's going on with the Braves because getting some kind of a regular routine. The other thing is they've played in so many different times. They only played one night game in the first 6. And then they come back here. They had yesterday's game was rained out. Today's a day game, 2 before that were rainy. It's just a weird start to the season. So we'll see. I think the good thing is, though, that this lineup is not going – it's not going to be held down, period. We're seeing – what literally the best hitter in the lineup starts off OPS and the worst guy in the lineup, and it's not affecting them at all.
No, the leadoff too much depth. It's too much depth. And we've talked about that for years, but there's, like as a reliever, I would look at, not being scared, but kind of look at, hey, that'd be a nice place to get called in. You see a couple of slap hitting lefties that aren't going to hurt you and a righty that swings for the fences. I'm like, if I land right there, I know I'm putting up a 0 tonight. And then you'd look at this other spot that's like please don't, I mean, I'll do it, but that might be tough. And you look at the Braves lineup and it's like, it never ends. There's no place to land.
Did you see Holliday's kids make his debut? I mean, he's only had 300 and some ABs in the minor leagues. God, talk about pressure, man. I know this kid's at 1-1. Obviously, he's huge, special. But even Acuña had over 1,000 ABs in the minor leagues. God, man, I don't know. I know this guy's numbers were off the charts in the minor leagues, and I know the fans wanted him up, and they look like if they think he can help, because they're obviously competing. They want to win the World Series. And they're not doing it for show to sell tickets. They're doing it because they think he can help. Yesterday, I was watching him. He went over, he got a ribby. But he looks his age. And, God, that's just not a lot of ABs in the minor leagues.
I told you, I think I said before, but I told you, my first Major League game, I was 21. And, I had 2.5, 3 seasons in the minors under my belt. But when I looked up and saw myself on the Jumbotron, I was like, oh, this is real, and I kind of went into a panic mode there. And the first pitch I threw got hit off the wall in right center for a double. I couldn't even feel the ball in my hands. So I wouldn't judge him based on that. There's guys like Acuña who, I mean, he could have every at bat of his career, the 9th inning of the World Series with the game on the line. He'd be the same player. But most of us are human.
Did you see this kid? I don't think this kid's human. Did you see the interview with him? He said, I wasn't nervous. No, I mean, it's big and all that, but I'm not nervous.
I wasn't very nervous. Obviously, my results weren't what I liked, but I wasn't nervous. I felt comfortable on defense, and I felt comfortable at the plate. And
he said it in a way that was like, I think he really means that.
It? Yeah.
He's not nervous. Yeah. He's different. He's 20 and 129 days, man. But obviously he grew up in clubhouses and all that, so he's different. So we'll see. But, man, they've got 3 of their homegrown drafted guys in the infield there. They are, I think, next to the Braves, are the team that's set up for long-term success. They're going to get those guys signed. They don't have it yet, but, they've got guys that are affordable, even if they don't sign them for a long time, and those are good. They're doing it, man. That's how you do it, man. You draft some position guys like that are studs. Braves missed on a bunch of those guys for a while, and they got some great ones on the international draft, thankfully, like Ozzie and Acuña. And then they got Riley. They did get a few of them, but not many. And they missed on some of them. And if you look at some of the Braxton Davidsons and guys like that and Lipka, these guys they spent top first-round picks on, Frank Wren and them. But they made up for it with the international guys and signed them to long-term deals and all that, and they're set. But the O's have done it right with the drafts, getting these draft picks and getting these guys in. And they're not messing around with them, wasting time down in the minors, for better or worse.
Whether you're a world-class athlete or a podcaster, we all understand the importance of mental and physical well-being and proper recovery for top-notch performance. That's why I'm excited that Unified Healing is sponsoring this episode of 755 Forever. Unified Healing is a new and super innovative global network of wellness centers powered by Energy Enhancement System, or EE System. If you haven't heard of the EE System yet, you'll want to listen up. This technology promotes wellness, deep relaxation, purification, and rejuvenation. Interested in experiencing the EE System technology for yourself? Go to unifiedhealing.com/forever to learn more and find a center near you. That's UNIFYDhealing.com/forever. No material or testimonials on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as medical advice or a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, including EE System.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The Marlins, have you seen the start they're off to? They've had 4 starting pitchers hurt or on the IL. They've got nothing, man. I mean, they went from having that rotation a couple years ago that looked like, oh my God, this is the rotation of the next 5 years, to nothing now. They've got 4 guys on the IL. They are, I think, they are right now 2-11. 0-7 at home.
Oof.
Yeah. So the Braves play them. And then what's really shocking, though, is the Astros, man. I didn't think I'd see this from the Astros. I know it's early, but they're 4-10 and 2-5 at home. And they're already 3.5 back in the AOS behind the Rangers. But nobody else in division's above 500. But the Angels are 6-6. I like to see the Angels do all right. I like Perry, obviously, GM. I like him a lot. But I want to see Trout get in the damn postseason, man.
He's looking good.
He looks great. But he's always one step away from the calf or the hammy. But, yeah, he looks great. What, he's tied for the Major League Lead right now at 6 homers?
Yeah, and he hits bombs. I mean, it's so easy.
Bombs. Speaking of bombs, how about Tyler O'Neill? The Cardinals, I mean, you talk about a guy that's lost the clubhouse. To me, Ollie, the manager there, last year when the Braves were there, it was the first week of the season. Remember? Tyler O'Neill had like a base running mistake, and he reamed him out publicly.
That's not our style of play as far as the effort rounding the bag there. It's unacceptable.
In the post-game publicly. And we're like, what the hell? I mean, if you're going to do that, certainly you're not doing that the first week of the season. And it wasn't even that egregious. It wasn't something that you need to do publicly. If he did it 3 or 4 times, okay. But that's just something you take the guy aside and tell him. I knew something was wrong when he did that. And O'Neill shot back right at him, like, man, you don't have to say that, something, whatever. It was bad. And sure enough, they get rid of him. Keep the manager. They get rid of Tyler. And look at him with the Red Sox.
Yeah.
You could take the outfield that the Cardinals have gotten rid of in the last 5 to 10 years, and it's like all-star outfield.
There's a few teams you could do that with.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean,
like the Marlins, but there's payroll.
Oh, yeah. The culture's so important, though. I mean, there's when players go from one place to another and thrive, maybe they didn't do that if they stayed in the environment they were in,
Yeah, he obviously wasn't happy there. But the Cardinals have not been the Cardinals now for a while, so.
Losing Yachty killed him.
It was huge. I mean, people don't understand. I mean, he was basically the manager of that team. He was running the show, the whole thing. Having him and Waino together in that team, yeah, it's a different thing. When you get rid of a guy like that, I mean, it's bad enough when you lose a guy, a Freddie, a Chipper, whatever. But when it's the catcher, that runs the whole thing, and he was still catching a ton of games at the end too. He was like a manager on the field.
That's one of our, problems with a lot of the analytics and stuff I guarantee you Yachty doesn't score high enough for what he meant to that team.
Yep.
Calling pitches and things like that.
And neither does Darno for what he means to this team, because it's real similar. Darno and Murphy in those meetings every day. Even Murphy now, he's on the IL, but he's still in those meetings every day. I asked Snit today, I said, because I know they don't take guys on the road usually if they're not going to be activated, They're making an exception with Murphy because he's in on all the meetings. And Snit said he's not going to go out yet on assignment, so he can rehab when he's with us. But he's too important to us with the meetings and all that they have every day. So they've taken him on this trip. He's still a ways away. He's still a ways away.
Even doing anything yet?
He got on the treadmill a couple of days ago, started with that. So
it's going to be a minute?
It's going to be a minute. He's not running yet on the treadmill. He's just walking.
Yeah.
So they're being careful. And rightfully so, with an oblique, with a catcher. You come back too early from that, it's going to nag all year, And they don't have to, because Chadwick Trump's fine for a backup, Him and Darno, okay. They're both good game callers. So, and like we've said, the lineup, you don't need much from that spot. Although Chadwick Trump drove in the first 2 runs of the game today with a double to the gap. So anyway, this is a trip that, I said the Mets suck and the Braves should take 2 out of 3 or sweep them, and they lost 2 out of 3 first. So I'm not going to say the Marlins and the Astros suck, but the Marlins do suck. But the Braves should win 4 to 5 of these 6 games on this trip. Now the Astros, they're going to flip the switch at some point and start playing. They still got a lot of good players. Marlins, that's a different story. And the Braves always play great down there too. And Ozuna always rakes down there. That's where he got going, remember, last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, he loves Miami.
He loves hitting down there. He lives down there. So I fully expect him to win. I think they'll sweep the Marlins, but we'll see. But it's a good trip for them. They got a chance. They're leading the division. I mean, they're like 1-game lead right now, 7 wins, them and the Phillies. Phillies got 2 more losses, so 1-game difference. But, who cares? It's early. But Braves have led every day so far. But this is a chance for them to really kind of clean up because they're going to have some tough trips coming up. They got a Seattle Dodgers trip coming up pretty soon.
I might have to go up there.
There you go. Kelenic going home.
I wonder. He might hear some boos.
Uh-huh. He got traded. He didn't leave on his own accord, but yeah, some of the comments he made after leaving.
Yeah.
He's going to wish he didn't make those.
Better than Seattle, that's for sure. Seattle ranks last, so I'm excited to hit here. I think the ball should hopefully fly a little bit more than did in Seattle.
For me, that was a big moment going back to Seattle in 2011 and kind of just closing the book on it, because you feel like you have unfinished business somewhere. So if he goes and has a big series, it'll feel pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, he faced the Mets, who were the first team he had, and traded him to the Mariners.
But he didn't even play. I mean,
right. That was nothing.
Getting traded out of the minors.
He was there less than a year.
Sucking in front of a fan base and struggling and having some
totally different.
Having some shit to say about the culture or whatever he said.
Yeah, the GM, the culture, the whole thing.
You better back that up. I mean, so you say some stuff out loud. You want to go in there and have a big series. And
I don't know him well enough. Haven't seen him enough to know what to expect with him responding under that, that pressure and the boos that he's going to hear. So I'll be interested to see it. I really don't have a good feeling at all. I don't know what to expect from that. So
I'll be watching.
I know Acuña will love the chance to play against Julio. He did last year. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll talk again after the Marlins series. We'll find out about Strider this weekend. But like I said, you hope for the best, but expect the worst. And in this case, I think it's pretty inevitable what it's going to be. I hope for his sake it's not a Tommy John, but, the only way it would not be better to have Tommy John is if it's not a full tear, like it's a partial tear, and maybe Meister tells him, the brace will do the job. And you can come back. You might be ready by, early next season or the start of the year if you do the brace. I don't know. That's the reason you do that, though. The rehab's not nearly as long.
Yeah, I mean, the only hope you really have is that he kind of just said, I had a little something going on in my elbow, and they kind of overdid it and said, well, let's just get the MRI and make sure and do all this. And now he's debating in his head, I think I could still throw, and it might already even feel better. So now you're put in this position where there's a tear in there, but you want to open it up again. I mean, that's your hope as a fan, is that the reason this is taking so long is he's saying it feels all right.
Right. Well, appreciate it, everybody, and enjoy the games in Marlin with the Marlins on TV. At least they'll start on time, unlike some of these we've had in the last week.
Yeah,
it's been soggy here, man. 7:55 forever, and the Hank Aaron thing was great, by the way. That was really cool. Did you see they had 755 people out there with signs, one for each of his home runs in the whole outfield? It was pretty cool. And a lot of the players were there, too, from that team. Like 10 guys, Dusty, Ralph Garr. It's pretty cool.
Big deal.
Pretty cool. Dusty's the man. All right, 7:55 forever. We're out. Thanks, everybody.
The Atlanta Braves are proud to have in attendance at tonight's game alumni from the 1974 Atlanta Braves, who were Hank Aaron's teammates and part of that historic night. Please welcome Dusty Baker, Ralph Garr, Tom House, Marty Perez, Ron Reed, Roland Office, Craig Robinson, John Fuller, Larvell Blanks, and Buzz Capra.
Hey there! Did you know Baker's always gives you savings and rewards on top of our lower-than-low prices? And when you download the Baker's app, you'll enjoy over $500 in savings every week with digital coupons. And don't forget fuel points to help you save up to $1 per gallon at the pump. Want to save even more? With a Boost membership, you'll get double fuel points and free delivery. So shop and save big at Baker's today. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Savings may vary by state. Restrictions apply. See site for details.